still the 22 veterans a day that are committing suicide.
Yeah.
It really is a huge thing. Again, like I had
For sure.
a buddy that at that command I told you about, he tried taking his own life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think he shot himself kind of in the head and was just ready to end it. And luckily he survived. Cause again, if you're unfamiliar with bullets, they do crazy things. So he ended up, missing like all the vital stuff, and
in the head.
Yeah. He survived.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a huge like shock to all of us. Cause he was always this like happy-go-lucky, like dude, we always like picked on each other. Like I would have never ever thought like that. But again, maybe he was struggling with the same stuff that we were struggling with. Like when I left that unit, so he left that unit and had to go to what we called the real Navy, and probably didn't like it either. And again, it just because everybody has different jobs and goes different ways, and it's just one of those things that he probably just really struggled with. But
so he attempted suicide at the command you were at, or after?
It was after.
Oh,
so
okay,
like after we were all,
yeah.
like I think I was already out. I want to say it was like 2019, like closer when I first got out. Like, and I don't have social media, but all my friends texted me and were like, "Hey man, did you hear about him? Did you hear about him?" And like it was coming from all different ways. And I was like, "No, like what happened?" Obviously they told the story, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" And then I think everybody probably knows somebody that has tried or has committed suicide, especially in the military community. And yeah, man, it's difficult.
Yeah, fairly recently, a new detect took his own life, and it was the same thing. I mean, his was, a lot of things were kind of toppling around him in his life, but as far as his personality, he was always very bright, funny, and I mean, a guy you could go to for anything. He would be the most helpful guy, but just one thing led to another, and it was just too much for him to handle. Yeah.
And again, I think it goes back to that like military mindset. It's like, what can we do more to help these people? And again, like, of course, the military does everything like as politically correct as they can. Like, oh, we're going to have more classes. We're going to raise more awareness. But again, it doesn't matter, right? Like, look at Robin Williams. Like, look at the
one of the best or worst examples. Yeah, for sure.
Because he's like, nobody would have ever thought that one of the funniest guys in the world, right? Like, I've seen probably every movie that he's ever came out with, and there's not a single time where you're like not laughing at any of his. So, I mean, again, if you look at a comedian specifically, like, oh, this guy is hilarious. Like, he's funny, and none of his jokes, I think, if you've ever like watched him, are like super dark or anything. No. So you would never like even try to put two and two together. And so that should show you right there, right? If this guy is portraying that type of thing, if somebody really wants to take unfortunately, there's really nothing that anybody can do about it, because they're going to hide it. They're going to do their own thing on their own time, and nobody's ever going to know. And you can ask them again, like I think the big one in the military that they preach in every class I've ever taken is just ask them. Hey man, are you okay? Do you want to commit suicide? But again, like, and sometimes, yes, I will say, sometimes you might get people that be like, well, yeah, I have had some dark thoughts or something. Yeah.
Possibly if they're in the mind state that they actually want to get help.
And that's exactly
but so many people, I feel like it's lost on people's understanding that if you reach that point where you're ready to take your own life, you don't want anyone to stop you.
Yeah.
So why would you open that door for someone to stop you? Mm-hmm. You've made that commitment, in your mind or one way or another. When you're in that dark place, there's very little that can be done.
Yeah. And most of the times too, that dark place can come out of nowhere. Like it can come from, you could just have had the best day with your family out at the beach, doing whatever you think. And then you come home and either maybe you got in a quick little fight with your wife, or your kid was acting up or something, and you just get triggered. And then by then it's too late, because it's not, and sometimes it is, again, nothing is ever always, but a lot of times people come in, right, and they're like, oh, it was this drawn out plan, like they wrote a note, they did all this, but sometimes that happens in just like an hour.
Yeah.
Like they just came home, finally had some peace and quiet, the kids were gone, the house was empty, and they were just alone with their thoughts, and that's what triggers it, or something like that. And again, that goes back to this military mindset of like, we're all want to be this alpha male, we don't need help. Like I still really struggle with that. Like I'll be working on my house, and I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not the most like mechanically like builder type of person, but I would rather mess it up 1,000 times and just ask one of my buddies to come help me. Like,
the motto or the recruitment slogan for the Army for the longest time was an army of one.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I forgot about that, but yeah, exactly. So it's like all they do, or at least did, was promote like, suck it up.
Yeah.
Suck it up, Buttercup. You can do it.
Yep.
Put your head down. Keep moving forward. Tip of the spear. All of that stuff. Yeah. Like
what I fear though is that the pendulum may swing too far the other way.
I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yes, you do need to be able to lean on your peers and your friends and whatever, but you absolutely not just military, everybody has to have quite a healthy bit of suck it the fuck up. Everyone does.
Absolutely.
Right? Like sometimes it's time to suck it up.